वशिष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नाम्ने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शून्यादि पश्चाते। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। So we have our Krishna Keshav Prabhu, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu there. Prabhu, shall I give back the control to you?
Continue.
Okay. We'll do the Mangalacharan and then we'll directly go to the reading of it. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnanan Janashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagajatam Sahagana Raghunatamvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखां स्वितंश्च नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविकास स्वामी इति नामिने नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौतुष्वे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We will continue reading from page number 134. Jai Srila Prabhupada book. We first arranged for a groundbreaking ceremony with the ex-owner of the land in Ramanareddy, the present site of a Krishna Balaram Mandir, while in the next room another dissatisfied person who wanted the same piece of property waits. Police and retired members of parliament appear, and you talk to them, and they convince the agitator that their thoughts of getting the piece of land are in vain. That any thought of getting the piece of land are in vain. One Goswami, hardly able to see, led by his son, comes from Radha Damodar, while his arch rivals, two other Goswamis, arrive simultaneously. You spring up from your seat faster than a speeding bullet and put the enemies in different rooms to avoid their fighting. Although they live in the same temple compound, they haven't spoken to one another for years. You satisfy each of them separately. They each take you as an ally, and you discuss and draw up papers which arrange our stay at some room at the top of Radha Damodar temple. Your secretary is simultaneously drawing up the contract for accepting the Ramanareddy property and the contract for the rooms at Damodara. Some Babajis in their off-white clothes and your slightly bearded godbrothers arrive, and you at once host them and then feed them amidst all the other agreements and arrangements. You are like the great ringmaster we used to see as children, running the whole show. The central attraction, training all, a dancing bear in one ring, a tightrope walker in another ring, and the lions in another ring. You continue to control from your seat this great transcendental circus in this most transcendental arena, Vrindavan. I remember one time a dog charged at you, snarling, looking like Shalva or Keshi demon charging Lord Krishna. You raised your stick and said, "Come on." The dog stopped short. You gestured slightly with your stick and the dog sat down, still growling. Then you threatened again and he lay down and whimpered. When we rounded the block for the second time, the whole performance was repeated. But the third time we saw that the dog was your servant and friend. He was tamed. I thought of him as my companion or godbrother, remembering how you similarly trained us all. You then explained how beware of the dog was a symptom of modern false civilization, where one may walk the street peacefully and from behind a large closed gate, the dog barks at you. Do not come here. Each gate separating one man's property from the other man's property. No one sharing, no spiritual center. I was beginning to learn by your example the balance between practical hard work for Krishna and temple devotions which sanctify that hard work. In Krishna consciousness, there's no room for dry rituals. Necessity is the mother of invention. You told, and I could see that devotee means whatever Krishna wants, that's all. We are his toys. The sincerity of the offering is the essence, not the wealth. Anyone in any part of the world may offer a fruit, a flower, some water to Lord Krishna, and he will accept, you taught. And so you engage us to work hard day and night for Lord Krishna. We should not waste a moment, you recently wrote me in a letter. Take my example, not a moment is wasted. The Karmis sit in the park and say, my son-in-law said this, etc. The next day I came to see you, and some more transcendental instructions were taking place between you and Subala Das. Srila Prabhupada, you do not like to live with the devotees? Subala, no. Srila Prabhupada, why is that? Subala, they gossip and talk nonsense. Srila Prabhupada, then you must change the gossip into transcendental talks. So many people come to me with nonsensical talks, and I transform them into transcendental talks. Subala, we are always fighting. Srila Prabhupada, you must consider it to be your fault. If each thinks that way, there cannot be fighting. If someone calls me Prabhu and I think that I am a master, that is wrong. Subala, I just want to stay in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada, it's better that you give Vrindavan to others. If I did not leave Vrindavan, you could not know Vrindavan. Rather, you should go out and preach and come back and build a skyscraper. Pronounce scraper. The next day on the morning walk, we saw many devotees, sadhus, etc. as regular as Artika, who came to you to pay respects. They are so regular, you can set your watch by them. We started to walk towards Ramanareti. You tell how the Nimba tree is medicinal. We see women picking up cow dung and you say, everything is used in India. That's proper. I say, cow dung is purer than the other dungs. It does not attract as many flies. You smile mischievously and say, oh, you have done research? Then you say, therefore this is proof that cow dung is antiseptic. I say, yes, and you order me to study nature, for that will reveal many truths of the Bhagavatam. Specifically, this is true in Vrindavan. Living in Vrindavan is like living on the lap of Krishna. Living in Vrindavan is like lying on the lap of Krishna. You say, but later you qualify that Krishna is not loitering in Loi Bazaar. And over the years, you come and go. You come to speed up the construction of the temple. You taste the water. You stand and count the bags of cement used. You question in much detail, how much the price of atta, flour? I say, rupees 1.60 a kilo. And you split up all the prices to how much an average devotee can eat. For instance, a devotee eats 1/4 of a kilo of rice. The rice costs ₹1 rupee 80 paisa. So a devotee eats 1/4 of that. Therefore, 45 paisa is spent per man on rice. And you break up, therefore rupees 0.45 is spent per man on rice. And you break up all the items, including spices, wood for cooking, and still you cut down on the amount we are spending to feed the devotees. One of the items, a vegetable, you ask, what is the cost per kilo? I say, 60 paisa. You tell the story of damn cheap Babu. The foreign Babu comes and gets the local prices and says, damn cheap, damn cheap. Why is being charged twice the amount as a local residence? 60 paisa, you say. It should cost 30 paisa. I quip that those are the prices of 1953. I remember seeing your account book in your rooms at Radha Damodara and how much you would have spent, and you would have account for everything. You then say, do it that cheaply anyway. And we do it by your empowered potency. You ask not only the price of vegetables, but the cost of cement, steel, as well as the timings of the frontier mail, the Tufan Express, and the Punjab mail trains. You expect me to know all the local residents and you introduce me to them as they come to see you. You initiated me into the vast etiquette and intrigues of Vrindavan society, and sometimes send me on seemingly impossible missions, like the time you sent me to borrow 3 crores of rupees from the Home Minister of India to be paid back in foreign exchange, or the time you sent me to ask the American ambassador to India to allow us to live in one of his houses free, or when a king wanted rupees 5 crores for his palace, and you told me to say that since we are Brahmanas and you are the king, you must give to the Brahmanas. If we see all these things in the transcendental light, they are not outrageous. Rather, it is a mundane darkness that is outrageous. I remember the time we were walking on the banks of the Yamuna, the full moon still in the morning sky. You point with your cane to the moon and they say the moon is dust. Why are those sands pointing to the Yamuna not shining and those sands pointing to the moon shining? If it is reflection of the sun as the scientists claim, then the sun is there. Why are those, the moon's sands shining and those, the Yamuna sands, not? The moon talks intrigued us all as we press close to one another to hear you. Sometimes we walk through the back alleys of this vast wonderland. Your cane rings on the red stones. You decided to reside one night again in your old rooms, and 4 of us are fortunate enough to accompany you. Sleep in a heap in your kitchen to keep warm in the post-Kartik night chill. Slowly, the Krishna Balaram construction begins. A well is dug, but the water is salty. But then another, producing sweet water blessed by Balaram, awes the neighbors who all have salt water. The construction rolls on slowly, a string of endless obstacles. No money, no material. You push us harder. You come yourselves and solve everything. You come and live at Sethji's house nearby. A pandal cover is erected to fuel your preaching fire, and you speak how the true bhakta is the only unmotivated yogi, whereas jnanis, yogis, and karma yogis are all tarnished by motivated liberation wishes. During another mass pilgrimage, the devotees stay at Lakshmi Rani Kunja, and you deliver the famous Nectar of Devotion series of lectures at Radha Damodar temple. After the lectures, devotees and guests all squeeze into your small rooms. You talk to me many times about Vairagya, how we should give up material attachments. You also teach tolerance. I asked you whether it is sometimes very hot or cold in Vrindavan to test how much one loves Krishna by staying here, and you answered, yes, sometimes Krishna tests that way. Titiksha must be developed. Your house is finally being completed. I remember the frantic rush to put everything in order for your first viewing. The floor and your newly varnished desk dried literally 30 seconds before you walked in. Of course, this is not unique, as probably every temple in the movement has experienced this same rush before your arrival, and how miraculously everything comes together almost the same instant as you step your lotus feet inside. Your old god brothers come and you host them in your new rooms along with a later afternoon stream of guests from every part of India. You sit back, relax, and talk to them, enlighten them until night comes and the bright stars appears in the Vrindavan sky. Again, your magnanimity is all embracing. I remember one night you say to me, let's go to some temples. Can you arrange? What time is the darshan? Later you tell me, darshan does not mean for you to see the deity, but rather for the deity to see you. I arrange a car. By the time the news has leaked out, in the unexplainable way of a Krishna conscious grapevine communications more speedy than any modern telecommunication system. And suddenly I am being petitioned, lobbied, cajoled, begged, and ordered that I take everyone along. You got in the front seat along with the driver, and then you motion to one devotee, come on. And as the front seat is filled, you say, there's room in back, come on. And the back seat is filled by the pillars and big guns of the Krishna consciousness movement. A stack of GBCs and sannyasis squash in the back seat. After it is filled, Gargamuni Maharaj shows up and you say, come on, come on. And so he squeezes in the already saturated back seats. As the car is ready to limp off, Pancha Dravida Maharaj comes ambling along with his danda, eager to join. And we can't refuse him. He lays across all of us with his hands and legs hanging out the window. You ask, where to first, where to next? And my muffled reply comes from under the Vaishnav's bodies. When we reach Govinda temple, we walk out majestically and we pile out like the clowns in a circus, all getting out of the small car. During the morning walks, we sit down by the side of the road and you teach the whole Varna and Ashram system. Your personal friendliness knows no bounds. Like a kind father, you instructed me to invite all the Goswamis and special people of Vrindavan to our first Vyas Puja ceremony at Krishna Balaram Mandir. It was gloriously decorated and many special guests came. We had just finished washing your lotus feet. I was drying your lotus toes one by one and you looked at me and asked, have you invited such and such? As I worked very hard to make everything nice for you, I readily said yes. He told me he would be little late, and you looked pleased. After we bathed and dried your feet, the senior devotees began to offer flowers and offer dandavats, prostrating themselves 3 times. As I was offering dandavats for the second time, you called me again. I thought, oh, who did I forget to invite? Srila Prabhupada always catches all of our mistakes. And I leaned close to you. Instead of asking anything, you simply took your fingers and so kindly ruffled my shikha and the top of my head. All the devotees crowding around cried, ah, in one well-wisher's voice. I felt my years of service again rewarded. You are so Krishna conscious that every time your fingers extends, your lips open, your eyes look, or your eyebrows twitch, it is great preaching. I begin to become astounded at how much of your precious time you have given to us. Recently going in to see you in your rooms in Bombay, I say, I do not want to take too much of your precious time. You reply, no, you can come anytime and also bring some honey. You then ask, how do you like these rooms? I say, they are wonderful because you are in them now. But if you were in another place, they too would be wonderful. Because of your divine grace, they are a tirtha. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. You corrected my pronunciation and said, yes, one who keeps Krishna's always, one who remembers Krishna. Yoginam api sarvesham madkate antara atmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam some yuktatamo mata. That place becomes Krishna conscious. Then we both at the same time, as if by magic, said, Manmana bhava madbhakta. Each minute with you is a fulfillment of a dream, a special event, and you have given the treasure house of many hours. You have changed our vocabulary so we talk like you. We gesture like you and give the same answers to questions as you do. And we try to preach like you. We embrace the parampara not out of duty, but because we are attracted to your way of doing things. Your defense of Krishna is boundless, and we watch in awe at your untiring strength, as everyone except simple devotees are exposed to be fools and rascals. A simple proof of your changing us is that the word duty was unknown and unused in our upbringing. No one taught us a sense of duty because no one knows what or whom to serve. The whole system of dharma and duty has become a practical engraved truth to many now. As you have brought duty to us, and even though the things from the ancient Vedas at first seems unattractive, they are now a way of life. These truths shown by your example that have changed so many lives are wonderfully unique and obviously graced by Lord Krishna. The general society may not understand us, but they have to recognize us. A judge recently in court stated that we are bona fide, which in itself is a great step. For what was an unknown teaching just 11 years ago, it took Moses, Muhammad, and Jesus Christ much longer to establish their teachings as bona fide in the courts of law. Now it is our duty to change the scientists who are the modern Smarta Brahmanas and high priests of today. You tell me, our movement is sublime, the books are sublime, and Krishna is supplying everything. Now go out in Poland and Russia and arrange for meetings with the scientists. I say, communist scientists? You say, why not? 2 plus 2 equals 4 for both the communists and capitalists. It is not that because I am communist, I can say 2 plus 2 equals 5. You must convince them of this Krishna consciousness. I predict that Russians will become first-class theists. I said yes, because there are less sense objects to distract them. They will view my books carefully. They have respect for Indian culture and the Sanskrit texts. The Jagais and Madais will change. Even Valmiki was a dacoit and changed. So you go and arrange everything. One of your greatest gift is your great understanding of every situation in perfect perspective. They, the lawyers in New York, wanted to end the brainwashing litigations, but instead you wanted to extend them for 14 years, using your books as evidence. Exhibit A, Bhagavad Gita. Only you can come up with the most remarkable ideas, using each situation in its best capacity to give Krishna consciousness to everyone. Where we are short-sighted, you see all sides of each situation and apply it. So many times I have watched as we, your disciples, have wanted to condemn, but you see and explain the other point of view. Their fairness, according to time and circumstance, must be learned. You have said about someone we are criticizing, he is not to be blamed. He was taught what he knows. As you have been taught what you know, so rather than blame him, rectify his teachings. For example, one day, as we were shooting away ducks in our path, we said, "You rascals!" But you calmly replied, "As you are thinking they are rascals, they are thinking you are rascals." So you always teach that preaching means seeing from the perspective of Lord Krishna's viewpoint and attracting others also to Krishna's Vedic version. We owe our gratitude to you only. What I feel when in your association, that strength, that determination, that enthusiasm, that ecstasy is an unequaled feeling, for only you are the great touchstone of deliverance. I pray that we all can remember these things and I remain steady in our devotional service. Shall I continue, Prabhu? More from the Vyas Puja books. As the author and compiler of this book, I was taking the liberty to include some of my own Vyas Puja's offerings. Vyas Puja offering 1980, written on behalf of ISKCON Dhaka. Dear Srila Prabhupada, again on your Vyas Puja day, we gladly take extra time from the duties you have given us to meditate deeply on your personality and the purpose of your mission. How strangely the materialist will say that we are making offerings to a person long since departed. Such sweet sentimentalism must be fascination within the mind. But no, unlike material relationships which are terminated by death, this relationship is deathless. And not just in name, nor simply as a philosophical theory. Rather, the mature disciple sees with the eye of eternity. I am eternal, my spiritual master is eternal, and he is inviting me to develop an eternal reciprocation of service and instruction. Why? For the pleasure of the Supreme Eternal Sri Krishna. This rasa is not limited by respective positions in time and space. It is based on the consciousness, the serving mood of the disciple who is engaged by the perfect spiritual master, the pure devotee of Krishna. It is solidified by the sincere determination of the disciple to continue acting as he is instructed by his Paramahamsa Guru. Srila Prabhupada, your activities are certainly mysterious. We never believed that you would leave us when we were still so inexperienced. You left this world still unknown to its masses before the Krishna consciousness movement's full glory was established. We have heard that for your early disciples to print and distribute a few BTGs seemed like a momentous task. But you had given the order and you provided the inspiration, the determination, and the know-how to make it possible. The same disciples who stayed faithful to your lotus feet now led us in pushing on the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. New frontiers open, more bhaktas come, problems arise and are solved. The Krishna consciousness movement expands. The future is unavoidable. The Hare Krishna movement is becoming huge, auspicious, and all successful. And we, your disciples, who a few days ago didn't knew how to hold a broom, must accept responsibility. Responsibility for preaching, for book translation, publication, and distribution, for training bhaktas, for improved standards, for favorable public opinion, for internal purity, and for gorgeous deity worship. In the face of this enormous task, we feel ourselves utterly helpless. To you, the spiritual master, without whom we wouldn't even know what tilak is, we offer our most grateful thanks. We can do wonderful things, but only if we pray to you, taking the position of menial servants and never becoming puffed up. We pray that we may become ever conscious of your desire to bring everyone to Krishna's lotus feet. We pray for the strength to throw off all petty material desires and to be fixed as your eternal surrendered servants. We beg for the mercy to chant your name and dance like madmen. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. In millions of lifetimes, we cannot thank you enough for what you have done for us. Therefore, we simply offer ourselves at your lotus feet. Vyas Puja offering 1990. There is a well-known Bengali song by the great Vaishnava poet Basu Ghosh, a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya, wherein he marvels, Yadi Gaura na hoite, tabe ki hoite. If Lord Chaitanya had not come, what would have happened? Based on this song, I composed my Vyas Puja offering for 1990. It goes as follows. If Prabhupada had not come. If Prabhupada had not come, who can imagine? What would we have done? How could we have lived? The science of Krishna consciousness, the ultimate limit of love of God, who would have let the world know? From you are not this body too. The secret pastimes in the groups of Vrindavan. Entrance requires a special expertise. Who else but Prabhupada could have? been empowered to empower others to understand. So sing again the glories of Srila Prabhupada, making the heart pure and simple. In this ocean of birth and death, such a merciful person, we don't find any other. Without singing the praises of Srila Prabhupada, how can we survive? What is the point of living? This fallen disciple regrets that his heart is like stone and wonders by what misfortune he is not attracted to his Guru's lotus feet. Submissively offered to his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on the occasion of his Vyas Puja celebration 1990 by a fallen disciple, Bhakti Vikas Swami. Vyas Puja offering 1991. Shri Guru Charane Rati. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. You are our worshipable deity, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37, 11.3.22. ISKCON is your body, BBT is your heart, and Lakshmi collections are your blood. Only you cared so much for Krishna that you kicked on his face with boot his imitators and detractors. Thus, not denying the dust of your triumphant lotus feet even to the demons. Shri Guru Charane Rati, Ehi se Uttama Gati, Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. The topmost achievement in spiritual life is devotion to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. By his mercy, all spiritual aspirations are fulfilled. Srila Prabhupada, you are the personification of Lord Chaitanya's causeless mercy. Lord Chaitanya wanted Krishna consciousness spread all over the world, and you did it. I was one of many who you picked up. I was wandering aimlessly, endlessly throughout the universe in 8.4 million species of life. By undeserved good fortune, I happened to be in a human body at the same time and place of your brief appearance in this universe. You found me loitering unhappily and picked me up. I was suffering so much, not a little, but a lot, not briefly, but eternally. Being a demon, envious and mischievous in the lowest of men class, I was perpetually being cast into the ocean of material existence in various demoniac species of life. Sin and selfishness were all I knew. There were no possibility of my attaining Krishna consciousness. Who was Krishna? I had no knowledge of or inclination for him. How was my wretched existence redeemed, being washed to the shore of your lotus feet? The only answer is causeless mercy. You saved me. You saved all of us. It was you, no one else. You are our only hope, hope for the hopeless. I was a street dog. You, a Vaishnav aristocrat. What did you do with me? But you picked me up. Indeed, you did not hesitate to pick me up. Being still filled with an astonishing repertoire of ghastly material desires, I am still so far from Krishna. I know that my lack of advancement in Krishna consciousness cannot be very pleasing to you. But still, I am not despondent because I have got you. Now I am a dog with a master. Sanatha Jivatam. A dog is kickable, but somehow you haven't kicked me away yet. So I am shamelessly beg you now to give me the mercy of the severe kicks of gratification which I so badly need. Srila Prabhupada, unless you kick me into shape, how am I ever going to control my mind? Although I am a nonsense and continue to be, still whatever I am, I have surrendered to you. Now please kindly do whatever is necessary to make me Krishna conscious. My own struggling attempts are all useless. I do not have much scriptural or any other knowledge. I am not austere. I am always losing in the struggle to control my mind. I am insensitive to others. Like this, I have so many disqualifications. Hopeless case. But in one sense, I do not even care too much because I am relying on your causeless mercy. I know that you are very merciful and that if I can just stick to the principle of trying to please you, then I won't need to do anything else. My whole life will be perfect. Tomar Karuna Sar, your mercy is all that I am made of. I know that if I just stick to your lotus feet, you will gradually set all my wrongs right by your causeless mercy. Srila Prabhupada, your causeless mercy is manifested as a service to you. There is no possibility for my advancement in Krishna consciousness outside the scope of your service. Attachment to your lotus feet means service. Service to your lotus feet. I pray to Krishna to bless me with such attachment. Service to your lotus feet is the greatest opportunity, the greatest challenge, the source of all bliss, and the life of all your disciples. Without it, we would certainly drop back very, very deeply into material existence. Srila Prabhupada, you always stressed service. Your eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 1.44 purport. Scholars translate the word bhakti as devotion, but you translated and lived it as devotional service. What made you unique among your God brothers was your attitude of service to your spiritual master. You only wanted to serve. You did not want to waste even a moment. You did not aspire for material comforts, facility, name, position, glory, or anything else. When they came as a byproduct of service, you matter-of-factly accepted them without giving them much importance. What was important to you was service to your spiritual master. You once explained how you had wondered how it was that you, among all your God brothers, had become successful. Several of your God brothers were deeply learned scholars, pleasing orators, and renowned sannyasis. Unlike you, many had extensive personal association with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. How then, among all of them, had you alone been successful? When I analyze, you explain, I see that of all my God brothers, only I had the full faith in the order of our spiritual master. You quoted, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chite te koriye akya, Arana kariyo mane asha. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words from the lotus mouth of my spiritual master. Let us have faith in your words, Srila Prabhupada, and let us serve you single-mindedly. This is our parampara. We need not waste time debating what is or is not parampara. We have only to hear from and serve the parampara. If we can collapse at the end of every day, exhausted from a full day's service, only to get energy to serve you again, then that is causeless mercy. May our days and our life be like that. Life without service to your lotus feet is not life at all. It is living death. If we can't serve you, then what is the use of sustaining our lives? Srila Prabhupada, you taught us Guru Bhakti, not a ritual, not something that had to be done just because the Shastra says so, not something to be legislated or speculated on, but alive, powerful. You attached to your Guru, you showered down mercy on us, and we actually loved you. Love is a very inadequate term. That very simple, natural, and deep relationship of the soul, a spontaneous but continuous outflowing from the heart, continues to increase even in the physical absence of the object of love, in this case, yourself. Such love, though long forgotten, buried deep in our hearts, is the very essence of our existence. Such love, even in the first stage of development, easily defeats the petty so-called love of this material world. Even though unimaginably wonderful in the beginning, it continues increasingly, even more unimaginably, up to the point of actual love. Love of love of Krishna, and even then goes on increasing. Such love you ignited in our hearts, then kindled with your words, activities, gestures, encouragement, and chastisements, until our hearts blaze with a desire to serve you and your beloved Krishna. The Krishna consciousness movement spread all over the world because of your love. Your love was for Guru and Krishna. You desired to satisfy them in all our respects, and we desire only to serve you and your Krishna. You sacrificed everything to please your Guru, and you instilled the same spirit in us. Otherwise, how could the Krishna consciousness movement spread as it did? It was materially impossible. But you did not stick to the material. You were from the world of the unlimited. You did not think that service to Guru meant giving a few lectures, initiating some widows, and indulging in theoretical conversations about advanced level of devotion. As you wrote, a great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Bhagavad Gita 2.14 purport. Being the disciple of none other than Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the incomparable, transcendentally mighty, sun-like effulgent Acharya, you always felt that you had to do the unlimited, and Krishna responded unlimitedly. You mercifully gave an unlimited number of souls a glimpse of the unlimited. Despite being on the platform of empowered unlimitedness, you always considered yourself a humble servant of your spiritual master and felt keenly your bond of relationship with him. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for being a real Acharya, not just teaching by words, but by your very life. You are the Acharya in the true sense of the term, who is authorized to deliver Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 1.47 purport. You are undoubtedly such a self-realized spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, you have written in your purports to Bhagavad Gita as it is, satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Bhagavad Gita 4.34 purport. And one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Bhagavad Gita 2.41 purport. When you first read these instructions in the Sanskrit Gita commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they enter deep into your heart and shaped your whole life's mission. You trained your disciples like that also, so that when I was mercifully allowed to join this movement, the devotees kindly instructed me. In everything you do, always think how to please Srila Prabhupada. The whole movement was powering ahead on this simple but infallible principle. Despite being inducted into and nurtured in such Prabhupada's consciousness, in course of time I became deluded by imaginary notions of being spiritually advanced. I gradually deteriorated into subtly looking for ways to try to enjoy Krishna consciousness in self-centered ways. By your mercy, however, why did not reject me? And the self-introspection, which followed by inevitable dissatisfaction, led me once again to realize my dependence on the dust of your lotus feet. So this is my conviction that the only way to understand the absolute truth, Shri Krishna, is to follow you completely. without deviation. I do not have to read a million books, grow a beard, stay up all night, or artificially try to become a gopi. I just have to follow your simple and straightforward instructions. That's all. It's really as easy as that. Others may say or think or do what they like, and even say, think, or do so many things in your name. But for me, at least, as far as this one tiny soul is concerned, my path is very clear. Follow your instructions without introducing half chicken logic. Read your books with full faith. That is 100% truth. Sarvam etadritam manye yan mam vadasi. And pray to you constantly for guidance to follow you correctly. Step by step, I entrust my life to you, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, I am such a long away from Krishna, but I know that if you are pleased with me, then, as and when you wish, you will give me Krishna. By your causeless mercy, you keep us going, and by your causeless mercy, you will one day introduce us to Krishna, face to face. Krishna se tomara, Krishna daite paro, tomara sakati ache. Krishna is yours. You have the power to give Krishna. As you write in your purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 5.1.10, by the blessings of a Vaishnav, everything is possible. This statement gives me hope. Indeed, I have based my whole life on it. You also write in your prayer to the lotus feet of Krishna, Tomara se Shakti pehle, Guru sevaya vastu mile, Jivana sarthak jadi hoy, se seva paile, Tahle sukhi hale, Tara sanga bhagyate miloy. If you bestow your power, by serving the spiritual master, one attains the absolute truth. One life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes happy and gets your association due to good fortune. Thus, by the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru, and by the mercy of Guru, one gets Krishna. Of course, to get direct service to Krishna is a very great and rare achievement. I do not have such a bold ambition as for now. This is my desire, though it may be selfish. I just want to see you, Srila Prabhupada. Maybe it's a foolish desire. You said that personal association is for fools. Srila Prabhupada, I am a fool. I want to see your lotus feet and place them on my head at least once every lifetime. I want to leave this body meditating very intensely on your lotus feet. And then, although I cannot ever deserve it, I request that I may be brought into your presence whenever you are, and that you will kindly place your lotus feet on my head and cast your merciful glance upon me. This is my ambition and desire. Srila Prabhupada, I pray to you for the strength to check my madness. I do not want that when the time comes to quit this body, I will have to lament and wasted life. I will have to lament a wasted life. I cannot expect to achieve much, but I want to be able to honestly present myself to you and say, I tried. Srila Prabhupada, you identified yourselves as a soldier of Krishna. You prayed to Krishna for the benediction to fight for him up to the last breath, as Arjuna did. So please induct me as a soldier in your army. Please push me into the preaching. Fight despite my unwillingness with Prabhupada and Krishna on the battlefield of life. Srila Prabhupada, you have many disciples. All have their realizations of you and their relationship with you. In the future, more and more souls will come to the umbrella shade of your lotus feet. I am just one of many, many dukhis who by your causeless mercy have become sukhi. Srila Prabhupada, please keep a place for me also in the dust of your lotus feet. Your still fallen but ever hopeful servant, Bhakti Vikas Swami. After submitting this offering, I thought more about the statement that at least at the time of death, when I meet you, I want to be able to honestly say, I tried. Will Prabhupada be satisfied with that? Will I try be enough for a sannyasi? Srila Prabhupada has left the legacy of preaching Krishna consciousness to his disciples, especially the sannyasi. He said that his sannyasis should do even more than he, make more followers, publish more books, and establish more ISKCON centers. Krishna consciousness must be established as the world's major religious force. Mayavad must be smashed. Bogus incarnations of God must be exposed. And atheistic scientists must be put where they belong, on the garbage heap, unless they come to join our dancing party. Farm communities also must be established so that people can live with us, chant Hare Krishna, feel secure and happy, and prepare to go back to Godhead. Vedic culture to replace cats and dog life, books translated and placed in every home. I may sentimentally burst in on Srila Prabhupada, but will he not sternly ask me, what have you done? I guess he might either send me back to make up for all that I should have done, but didn't, or send me on to try somewhere else. Srila Prabhupada wants to liberate every conditioned soul in the material world. And the only meaning of my existence is to do what he wants. So whether Prabhupada is satisfied with my service or not, it seems that I will be serving forever here in this material world. But what I am really afraid of is, after leaving this body, I go to see Srila Prabhupada and he doesn't even look at me because I am such a rascal. Even worse, what if he doesn't even agree to see me? But I shouldn't feel too hopeless. Srila Prabhupada has already accepted me. Even though I am so rotten, unless I were to reject him, which I have not the slightest intention of ever doing, surely he wouldn't reject me. Vyas Puja offering 1993. Somehow or other, to my great disappointment, this did not get printed in the Vyas Puja book. Anyway, here it is now, offered at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. The 1992 Vyas Puja book seems to be the best yet. Many of the offerings of the senior devotees express deep, mature realizations. Most heartily, the understanding of Srila Prabhupada's preeminent position in ISKCON, his incomparable status, and of our smallness before him, seems to be widespread even amongst the initiating gurus of ISKCON today. Many great souls are traveling here and there, carrying the flag of Krishna, repeating Krishna's word as received through Srila Prabhupada, and thus purifying the world, Vaishnav Shiti Pavana. With this encouragement, I sit to write my Vyas Puja offering for 1993. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to your lotus feet. As the people of the world prepare to burn, bomb, and bludgeon each other into non-existence, the inevitable finale of a mad atheistic civilization that tried to replace God with machines, as the secular liberals and pseudo-intellectuals raise their hands in useless horror, crying, "Oh no," the Vaishnavas still try to spread your message. Will the world listen? Maybe a few, but it may be too little and too late. If only they could listen to you, Srila Prabhupada. You gave everything, how to live peacefully, accepting nature's gifts, relying on Krishna and making him the goal of life. But they took you as another Swami, someone to show a little curious respect to, but certainly not to be taken very seriously. You warned them, but they did not care to hear. The karmic fruits have become so heavy that we can hardly imagine what horrors lies ahead. And after that, will the survivors again pay lip service to God and slip back into Mayavad, deftly avoiding Krishna? Or will they at last accept you as a real teacher, the one who gave all the answers, the world savior who brought the light of the Bhagavata to guide us for the next 10,000 years? That depend a lot on us. Will we recognize your preeminent glories as the greatest devotee in the modern age? Will we glorify you throughout the universe? Or will we also not listen to you? Will we say, maybe Srila Prabhupada didn't mean this? He meant that. Will we also avoid you? Mix up your teachings with those of less realized sadhus, rationalize you and marginalize you. Shall we continue, Prabhu? Or
Yes, we can continue tomorrow.
okay, so we'll stop here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, devotees, for joining in. Vrindavan
Just,
Priya.
yes, true.
Go ahead.
Thank you to all devotees for joining reading of Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. There is announcement that after completing Jai Srila Prabhupada book, will start reading My Memories of Srila Prabhupada. We hope that we should be able to finish this book in next 2 days. So starting from 11th of October, 12th of October, we'll read My Memories of Srila Prabhupada. So devotees, kindly go to books.ppks.com URL, which I'm pasting on the chat session, and there you can register for the upcoming reading of My Memories of Srila Prabhupada book. Kindly register so that you can join in that also. Also, if you do not have a copy of Jai Srila Prabhupada book, please get a copy of Jai Srila Prabhupada book without a shipping charge. I'm also posting a link here on the chat section. Srila Prabhupada book is also available in a Kindle format and Google Play format. So you want to get the book, please get from there also. So thank you very much for all joining, and see you tomorrow again. Hare Krishna.